Good evening all, it's Phil Monk here from We the Undersigned. Just give everyone a few minutes in case anyone's going to tune in. Yeah, I've been a little bit occupied the last few days. I've got a huge bag of things down here to start posting out to people. T-shirts, wristbands, badges, bracelets, flyers. And it's been quite beautiful to watch because it's all made possible by donations that you good folk out there are giving. So all these donations that you're giving is then making merchandise, which is then given to other people. And those that are able are then giving donations, and then that's been put into more merchandise or information. So I've ordered 15,000 flyers today, thanks to the recent influx of donations. So I'll be able to start posting those out again after the 13th of November. There's only 3 double XL t-shirts left. So I'm sort of on the verge of ordering them, but I'd like to try and wait until I can get one of the offers and get the best price I can. So I'm just sort of watching a few pages and see if they get any reductions, and then I'll get some more t-shirts done with both logos as well, because you know some people prefer this logo, some people prefer the other. So we'll get a bit of both done. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. I hate these live videos because I look at myself and see how flaming haggard I am. So yeah, today's update. I have sent, I think, like 20 emails, I think it is, to different human rights solicitors, mostly based in London as it happened. It was on the top 500 list or something, was it the legal 500, the list on the legal 500. So I went through them, just the first, 18, and I'd already emailed a couple of others the other day, and already had some responses actually quite quickly. I'm surprised. So one I've had a conversation with this afternoon, quite a lengthy one as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. Another one is happy and keen to talk with us, so they're going to hopefully call me on Monday if all goes well. So hopefully, if that's already 2 out of the 20 have come back, at least keen to talk. So hopefully by the end of this, maybe a week's 10 days, I normally give them to get round to responding, we might have an idea. So I'll tell you what the first solicitor said. I'm never going to reveal the names of any solicitors, by the way, because I don't know, it could make vulnerabilities if I start sharing the names of which solicitors might or might not be helping WTU. So I'm going to keep that very close to my chest. In fact, I'm not going to tell anybody unless I really, really have to. At the minute, we haven't got any. But this one solicitor, very, very interested. We spoke about the bigger picture. Let's just to call it, you know, the government have got the nonsense divides of recreational and medicinal, which is a contrived divisionary technique to weaken the cannabis reform movement and actually to push it further into pharmaceutical hands. Anyone that knows anything about cannabis and has done any proper research will know that virtually all use of cannabis is therapeutic in nature or beneficial in nature. Now, I won't say some people don't have a negative experience and maybe have a bad time in one way or another. Be remiss to say that didn't happen. It does happen. But the majority of people are able to use it peacefully without causing harm to themselves or others. So let's call that the bigger picture, which we're talking about the human rights of freedom of consciousness. The freedom for anyone to be able to use cannabis for whatever reason they choose. So that's the bigger picture case. And then we've got the narrow medical focus case, which would be like me here. Oh, poor me, I'm sick and poorly and dying, please let me have my cannabis. So we've got those two scenarios. Now, this is the first solicitor actually that hasn't shut my face, excuse me, on the bigger picture case. Do you know what I'm going to, hold on. The bigger picture, Lou, will you chuck me over the butt off the floor, please? The bigger picture case, basically it's more difficult to win. In a nutshell, what they do, solicitors, thank you, they try and go for the easiest or the likeliest win. Oh dear, I'm a criminal. Isn't it ridiculous they'd put me in jail for a bit of butter? Very good for sore joints. So we've got this bigger picture, which is more difficult to win, basically, and it all comes down to bloody politics, right? Because a judge is likely to not want to get involved in the politics of it all. And I even said, so you're telling me that we've got links here and evidence that pretty much show that it's outright corruption, that these laws won't be changed. And the politicians that won't change them because it's not within their interest to change them. But the judge won't do anything because they don't want to get involved in the politics. They're going to prosecute people, innocent people, on laws that are based on lies. And she pretty much said, yeah, that's pretty much what they'll do, because they don't want to stick their neck out and they don't want to get risky with the politics of it all. So that means justice is dead in the UK, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, official announcement. Not that my announcements count for anything, but justice is dead in the UK. Maybe it's been dead for decades and I've only just woken up to the fact that it's dead. But when you've got people being prosecuted on a false premise and they know that, and they do it anyway. So anyway, the door's not shut. If we wanted to, as a community, for the bigger picture, we can gather together what we consider, if you will, sorry, I'm just rubbing cream on my feet. We can gather, if you will, what we consider to be evidence, you know, our case, if you will, as to why our beliefs and practices should be decriminalised and no longer persecuted by the government. Now, it's highly unlikely that a barrister would take it any further. She said as much. They said as much. Hello. Get your fruit, love. Just fill your boots and get your fruit, darling. Don't worry about it. But if we wanted to, we could gather up all our information, all our evidence, and if we raise about £5,000, we can present all that information that we can gather, and give it to them to give to a barrister. It's a very favourable barrister, actually, that was mentioned to me. I'm not going to go into specifics, but this barrister would be a favourable barrister to have for us, by the sound of it. And they would then consider it, to see the feasibility, to see if we've got an angle, basically, to see if we might have a winnable case for the bigger picture, the whole human rights factor that we're always talking about in WTU. And it's not just about the sick and the dying, it's for people that want to relax, it's the people who want to use it for creativity purposes, for nutritional purposes, spiritual purposes, for whatever. We've never had this arbitrary definition of why do you use cannabis, or if you're not using it for that reason, you're not allowed in our club. You know, we haven't ever had that. So we can, that is an option, that's option one, which means we need to raise £5,000. We need, which actually, that might, oh, £5,000. We've got 3,000 UK members. If every member put £1.50 in, we'd have £4,500. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Let's get the ball rolling, please. And that's all it'd take, actually. And then if we all give £1.50 a month, that's £4,500 a month. I reckon we can go to court with that. First of all, though, we've got to get all our evidence together, which already I think we've got quite a lot, actually. It would just be about the time of printing it, actually, and collating it. That's door number one. And door number two, this is what was recommended. The first question was, what is it you want to do, Phil? And I said, I want to smash prohibition to pieces, in a nutshell. And that is what I want to do, smash prohibition to pieces. That's the ultimate achievement, because it's horrendous. She said at the minute the doors open a crack. She was well informed on current legislation. She was very up to date with government recommendations, health body recommendations on the prescribing of cannabis. She was very well informed in that respect. I did help inform her in like the preparation of cannabis oil and things like that, because she didn't actually have that knowledge. So this belief, I've given it away by gender, actually. I'm going to have to learn not to give gender. This person believes that we can't just kick the door open. I mean, I'd like to kick the door off the fucking hinges, but we can't. We have to apparently nudge it open a toe at a time, which maybe that's the case. This is the first solicitor out of 20, so this is just one solicitor. So it was said to me that, like for my case, for example, you know, I've tried most of the pharmaceutical drugs. Well, I've tried all that are offered to me until the point of the fourth time nearly killing me. I said, right, no more. You know, beta blockers gave me a brain hemorrhage scare. Citalopram gave me a mini stroke scare. Tramadol gave me a horrendous host of side effects that culminated in a bowel bladder cancer scare. And then Zomorph and Omeprazole recently resulted in a liver cancer scare. So that's what the MHRA licensed, approved, tested, triple-blind placebo drugs have done to me personally. In fact, they've nearly killed me and traumatized me that much that I thought, you know, I'd rather risk prison than risk side effects, basically. You know, that's why I'm here. Prescription scares me more than prison sentence. Now, that's only because prescriptions nearly killed me and took my life, and my children and my wife had to witness that. So not only was it traumatizing for me, it was traumatizing for my wife and children. So if you've got someone like me that is in a chronically severe pain, or they've got a life-threatening condition, I mean, let's face it, better still, they'd love another sick child, because you can't beat a sick child for a campaign. Personally, I think it should be more than that. It should just be about the human rights, not the individual, but that's what they want. So if we could have individual cases, and we can have many, by the way, severely sick, disabled, or dying, preferably if you're beyond benefits, because then you might be able to probably get legal aid, whereas if you're not on the benefits, you'll have to fund it yourself. Ideally, you will already have a sympathetic specialist who agrees that cannabis is beneficial to your health and well-being. Ideally, also, you'll have been refused a prescription for cannabis already. A prescription for a cannabis-based product. Forgive me, we must start remembering that definition. And also, most drugs or treatments must have already failed for you. That's like in my situation. And it wouldn't be to sue the NHS for cash, because I've said that none of us want to sue the NHS for money. We don't want to prosecute the NHS. It's the government we've got issue with. So it wouldn't be to sue the NHS for a cash reimbursement. It would be to sue the NHS trust in particular that refused your care. So if you... Chris Beard springs to my mind immediately. Sorry, Chris, mentioning your name. I hope you don't mind. I'm sure you don't. You know, you'd be an ideal candidate from what this lady said to me, and it wouldn't be to prosecute, to charge them, to get money off them. It would be to challenge their decision to refuse you what it is that you're requiring. Now, I mentioned that I've tried Sativex. It didn't work for me. I had it on prescription. I had the opportunity to try it, and it was horrendous, and it burnt my mouth to pieces. Now I know who's invested in the company. There's no way in the world I would ever want anything from them, because I don't wish to enrich the maize any further than what they already are enriched from this country. So personally, on a moral standpoint, I couldn't take their product anyway. I could possibly consider Holland's product. I'd rather just carry on growing for myself and not have to worry about any pharmacy, in fact. But not everyone can do that. Those that can should, and those that can't should be able to be provided for. So there is a possibility. So if you think you meet those criterias, and if you think you might like to try and raise a legal case against the government as an individual, bear in mind you would still be supported as a whole. You know, this could be a lot of WTU members taking individual cases, and most of us are sick, dying and broke, legal funded, argument against the government. And, you know, who knows where it might go. She's on about putting a toe in the door. Well, let's get 3,000 fucking feet and kick the fucking thing down. Excuse me, I get a bit passionate about this because people are dying. Yeah, this isn't about cannabis. People think it's about cannabis. It's not. I'm getting so many messages, right? Please don't stop sending me these messages if you happen to see me saying this now and you're one of the people that have sent them to me. I feel quite honoured, actually, that you choose to send them to me. They're heartbreaking, man, heartbreaking. I'm not going to share them because of confidentiality reasons, but it's crushing. People are bloody dying while they are procrastinating in the Houses of Parliament and profiting off you and your family dying. How are they profiting? It's a good question, because how are they profiting if no one's actually prescribing this cannabis-based product that apparently the Mays are all invested in? Well, I suggest it's probably because it'll still be available for global sales, even if not in the UK. So they're still going to be profiting because that product is still being grown and it's still being made and it's still being sold. It's FDA approved. been sold around the world for 12 years, a lot of it. And they're not going to stop doing that just because the UK health bodies don't do anything about it, because the government have lied to them for the last 20 years. So they don't know how to prescribe it because they've been misinformed willfully and intentionally by the powers that be at the moment that refuse to change the law. It beggars belief, right? It really does. So anyway, I want to go and sit down, chill out, watch a film with my good lady. I have a big bundle of wrapped goods that my son is going to help me post tomorrow because I can't do it all by myself. By the time I've wrapped everything up, my arms don't work the following day, so I can't post it for a couple of days. So I have to, remember that advert, the sweaty armpit advert? That's what it's like for me, moving from the elbows up, because moving from the shoulders upwards is a, ooh. Anyway, I liked what Alan Buffrey said the other day. We should stop bleating on about our conditions. We should start bleating on about our human rights. And I agree with you there, Alan. So if you want to pick up the big picture case and help me support and get that together, because I can't do that all by myself, and we need to raise £5,000 if people want to do that. I mean, that can be done, right? I can literally, I've already got an account set up with Crowd Justice, right? Crowd Justice is a bit like Crowdfund, except it's for legal purposes only. So once we have an ascribed solicitor, which we could have, all we've got to do is give them some names and numbers and we're there. Then we can arrange for these, like I say, £1.50, £2, people, £2. That would be £6,000. We can start proceedings. We can at least get a barrister to look at all the information we've got and all of our stories and to say whether we have a case or not. Or we can focus on the narrow focus too. So we have potential now. WTU has always been about really getting legal representation to challenge the laws in whatever way we can. We're all potentially almost there. But the first question they always say is, how are you going to pay for this? I can't pay for it. We, as a community, we can pay for it. So have a think. Share the fuck out this video. Right, sorry, I'm swearing. It's after 9 PM. It's all right. So I get so angry, and it is because I've got people. When I made WTU, it was my crazy idea, and you've joined me in that crazy idea that we have a human right to cannabis, and we shouldn't be prosecuted because we choose cannabis instead of alcohol or pharmaceutical drugs. It's amazing. And the sole premise was what we were undersigning to is every letter I send is what we've undersigned to. And it's been far more than that first one letter I thought I was ever going to send, actually. So I need to hear from you. I need to hear from you if you want to pick up the bigger picture case and help me formulate that. I need to hear from you if you want to, if you think you're suitable and you want to start a case yourself against a medical focus. If you've got another reason, like you use it for spiritual reasons, and you want to join that in as well, bring it to me, because I'll take it to him. You know, I will. If you want to use it because it makes you the best artist you can be, come and tell me, because I'll take it to them and see if we can't get that presented. You know, we have a human right to be the best we can be, and they're stopping us. Anyway, I've said goodbye once, so I'm going to go this time. Thank you for tuning in, those that did. I'll put this on public page and probably on YouTube as well, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, keep your spirits high, lots of love, and don't give up, right? Keep smiling and don't give up. I hate this, doesn't it? And then,